cats are getting now when they're 18, 19, 20, 24, 26 years old. And they coming ready to work like a soldier. However, we cannot forget our roots. The grassroots people is the ones who's holding up this nation. We got to get initiatives designed specifically for them. We got to get them resource support, monetary support, programmatic support. And we got to get them involved in the middle, in the center of this global development process. And again, I use the word success as part of future today. However, we talked about some of them, but there's additional ones. And even here, how many of you are operating your own businesses? Okay, you know, I pay myself first today. You know, I'm not really behind on all my bills, but I pay myself first. That's one of the principles of economics that we got to get down. And I pay my nation first too. And so I support nation initiatives. I support nation businesses. And that's what we're working on. The process is about supporting each other. Community. How many of you are involved in community initiatives? How many of you are in charge of community initiatives? How many of you are involved with political initiatives? And social endeavors, social programs and things of that nature. Those are not heard about enough. You hear all the bad news, and bad news travel real quickly, and good news travels slow. Well, this ain't the PIS. This is the NGE, and we got to toot our own horn. And we have the means, we have the structure now. We got newspapers, we got publications. We need to toot our own horn and get that word out. So my challenge to all the nation builders here in the room and across the nation is to bring to the table your area of expertise and add on in the name of the mindset of our lives. Peace. I don't know if there any time for any questions or not. And if there isn't, then I can take questions afterwards.
Yeah, we're going to take questions.
All right, well, what I'd like to do now then is introduce a brother that's near and dear to me. He's one of the brothers from way back that taught me the importance of communication, the importance of business, the importance of staying in touch. If we don't talk in 2 weeks, something's wrong. The guy, Shem God, affectionately known as Bulletproof, because that is my man, and he puts it on the line for us each and every day. And I love you, brother, and I'm welcoming him as our next speaker.
Peace. Peace, God.
That little stuff getting down here. Kind of difficult for me with this bad voice, gunshot. The issue that I really wanted to address was the issue of business and this assumption that we keep going under of being a nation without food, a nation without a food store. Ain't a nation, it's a bunch of damn fools. Anytime you got a nation and a culture and you say that you are teaching people about the proper things to eat, the proper way to live, how can you have it when the only food store you had since it's been gone, you ain't replaced it yet? How much real building can you actually be doing? Are you really deceiving yourself? If you tell a person, well, don't eat pig, don't eat this, don't eat that. You got a place where they can go to where they can buy those things you're talking about. Or you send them off into a supermarket in a maze where they don't know what the hell they're buying. Do you teach them any of the things about a proper diet? Because that's where it all begins. That's how Allah taught us. He said, son, I don't put clean water in dirty glasses. said you must learn the dietary laws because otherwise the words that I'm saying to you will never hold fast in your head because you are dirty on the inside. And they ain't worth being set within your head. And people don't talk about what they eat. They don't tell nobody what to eat because they don't know their damn self. You can go in their homes and find them eating everything just shy of pork meat. Everything that is planned for a slave, every bit of the slave diet, they incorporate in their homes as long as they just throw a little smoked turkey wings in it. Smoked turkey ass in it. Then it's all right to eat. But what does it do to your mind? What does it do to your appearance? What does it do to your health? What does it do to you as a person when you function in other aspects of your life and all the rest of your endeavors that you're out here claiming to be doing? Does what you eat in your diet hinder you from being on time? Do you eat so heavy and so deadly that you can't actually concentrate or remember a damn thing? But if you do not incorporate your diet, I remember once the father said to me, he said, son, if I told you all the foods that ain't no good to eat, I wouldn't have no damn fibers. So he started explaining to me about corn and how the body does not digest corn, that it ferments in the body and turns to sugar. He said, how many of these people you see running around with sugar conditions? They got diabetes. Don't know where it comes from, thinking that they can stop eating white sugar. He said, come on in the store. Let me show you something. Every damn item he picked up that he showed me that I was eating had either cornstarch, corn syrup, corn this, corn everything. He said, now son, I'm not telling you to stop eating all this, but eat it at a minimum and make sure that you fast. Make sure that you discipline yourself so the things that you do take into, it will not do harm to you, because if you take it in abundance, it will break you down. Slowly, just as surely as a pig will. Even in terms of fish, different things that he told us not to eat. I see folks nowadays, the herbs, they eat tuna fish like it's all right. And they're the most ignorant ass individuals want to meet. Well, we can eat it 4 times a year, it's all right. Because some stupid ass jackass write it in his paper. Paul said, man, son, the only time you use something like that is if you're locked up in jail, you ain't got nothing else to eat. But when you're out here in the street and you can pick and choose, you don't choose that. He showed us about butterfish that had no scales. And if something bite into it, the poison go into it. He said, leave that alone. He showed us about flounder. He said, over in the east, they call it Moses fish. Because one side is dark and the other side is light. And he said, Moses part of the Red Sea. So he said, they call it Moses fish. He said, but it's a scavenger, and it swims on the side, and all it does is suck from the bottom. He said, blackfish, which is one of the most tastiest of fish, is a scavenger. They call it blackfish because it got pop eyes and big ass lips. And it looks like the character of a nigger. So they call it blackfish. But its skin is so tough, you got to peel it off with a pair of pliers. And he showed that it got a double row of teeth where it eats nothing but shellfish. But he showed us all the foods not to eat, so that when the knowledge set in your head, it can set in your head right and exact. You'd have no question about it. Your health will reflect what you teach. How you going to teach about life and you look like that? Some people can take a snapshot for an iodine bottle. That's how bad they look. They look like a thing of poison. And you got so many brothers in our nation right now on dialysis, on this, on that. Why? Because they don't eat right. And the worst part about it, they're taking that crap to our children, and they bring it to our rallies, and you go to a rally, you can't even trust your children picking up a plate of food because you don't know who brought it in there, and you don't know what the hell is it. I had a woman hand one of my children some of the wrong food, and had the nerve to say to me, when I questioned her about it, she said, well, we don't eat that either, so what the hell you giving to my child? But this is a God's earth. He swear them down. He teaches civilization. Just because he's been hanging around here for a while. Just hanging around don't mean nothing. If you ain't done nothing, even if you go in the forest, you might not see the bear, you at least see his tracks to let you know that he was there. There's been too many times we've lost things, great things. Like I said, I had that business out there in the desert for 17 years. Not only, I started out renting. One store went into owning the entire property. 2 stores, five room apartments. A garage in the back, which I turned into a wholesale distribution of sodas. All of this here stuff was lost because foods would not come and help pick things up when I started losing the use of my legs. I didn't give a damn about their patronage because I had so many people that were out there that the church groups took care of my things. I didn't give a damn if you ever showed. But when I was trying to improve things there and my legs started going bad, that's when I said, this ain't a nation. This ain't nothing but a goddamn notion. It most sound alike. Well, a notion only means you think you got something, but you ain't got nothing. And when it's time to call on that so-called something that you got, you wind up seeing you ain't got nothing. Because people have no drive, no initiative, and they don't eat the right food. And they got a lot of soothsayers and people running around like them people did in the emperor's new clothes. They had that emperor believing that he had on some new dreads. They tricked him so well that he stood in the mirror and he swore he had on the latest dreads. And he didn't have on nothing. He was standing there in his drawers. But this is how well the con game was played upon his mind. And that's what's been done in our nation on a continuous basis. People been running a con game. Because if you ain't got nothing that has substance to it, I don't give a damn how many meetings you have. You can't buy a loaf of bread from your own kind. I've seen Jews that used to come in my store. Sometimes they would come in just to buy the newspaper forward, because I used to carry it, which is a Jewish paper. But because their congregation had moved into a different area, they decided to take their business there. So they would go all the way over into another area, take buses, just to buy a loaf of bread. Because that's how dedicated they are to their cause. When we got people amongst us that sit up here and give lip service and shit, and I see them all the time, patting themselves on the back. Come on, give them a trophy, give them a plaque, give them this, give them that. For what? You need to give them a door. Because if he ain't done nothing all this time, he ain't going to do nothing. Instead of deceive young people and turn young people off to the point where they don't want to come here and serve. I got children who own businesses. They said, man, I don't want to be bothered with most of them. So I used to sit behind the counter and see who the hell comes in and out that store. And it sure wasn't most of them. Why would I want to do anything with it? If you want to be bothered with it, you be bothered with it. But I'm going to tell my business to those who are going to support my business. And the hell with those who don't. Peace.
Peace.
Let's go to hand.
Yeah.
Next we're going to bring up on victory of Allah, the God, shall peace be Allah.
Peace. Peace. Peace.
My name is Shah Peace Be Allah. I'm a resident of Richmond, Victory Allah, also known as Richmond, Virginia. For the past 2 years, I've attended the region for conferences, taking notes and recording the information provided by the gods and earths within the region for area. Our plan has been to take this knowledge back to Richmond and apply it in that city. I've had the pleasure of recording information such as the work, plans, and goals of the gods and earths in Richmond with the idea that other areas could benefit from knowing our way of building. Overall, I hope that much of the information which we have shared with each other at the past conferences be used toward the construction of what we will achieve in your city or state. Today, I'm present at the 4th Annual Region 4 Conference to share with you all the importance of public relations. Public relations is the connection of an organization to the people as a whole. The Father said to go to the people as the people. Well, we are the people just with knowledge of self, so it shouldn't be hard for us to relate to the people. We face many of the same problems and share many of the same views. For example, gas prices, taxes, the American troops. There are ample amounts of meeting grounds for our nation and the general public, and with the right type of action placed on those areas, we can show the general public the truth. That we are not a gang, we are not a hate group, but we are a nation. A meeting ground that we extend to the public in Richmond is the Parliament, which is held every third Sunday of the month at 2:00 p.m. In return, the public offers us the newspaper. It is imperative that we build a positive relationship with the press. The Gods and Earths in Richmond send formal invitations and/or complimentary tickets to the Richmond Free Press and the Voice newspaper upon many nation events. Other great meeting grounds are community meetings, city council meetings, and PTA meetings. These are places where the Gods and Earths should make an effort to be seen and heard. Many of us are community supporters, taxpayers, and parents. Therefore, what may take place at these meetings is our business. In Richmond, there's a meeting that takes place every last Tuesday of the month at the Richmond City Police Academy. It's called the Community Crime Control Committee meeting. This meeting consists of precinct captains, sector patrolmen, community activists, organization representatives, and the general public as they unite to work toward the prevention of crime in all districts of Richmond. Though the meeting is geared toward the improvement of security for the city, it is also a perfect place to promote events and fundraisers. The people who attend these meetings are the people that we want to recognize us as a nation, as a righteous nation, for they can give assistance towards the removal of our name from the list of gangs and victory of law. The greatest form of public relations is our wisdom as individuals. I can attend all types of city council meetings, leaving a great impression of our nation on the minds of city officials. However, if they see our flag in connection with a person who is affiliated with illegal activity, regardless of the impression that I left, the city officials will label us all as criminals, including our babies. Therefore, if you have tendencies to be easily led in the wrong direction, please leave the nation of David and refrain from getting a tattoo of the universal flag. The same applies to those of us with universal flags on our rearview mirrors and bumper stickers. One recklessly driven vehicle with a universal flag on display can have us all labeled as reckless drivers. As individuals, we have the power to attract the general public with our supreme wisdom. So at all times, especially when in the eyes of the public, we should concentrate on making sure that our wisdom is supreme. The nation of Gods and Earths have provided many tools to assist us with relating to the public. Some of these tools are taken for granted, like the enlightenment. The enlightenment can be used to attract the public from yards away. So when we sing the enlightenment, let's try to use our outside voices. The regional conferences stand as a good example of what public relations is about. After the first Regional 4 conference in the year 2002, I was at a Wednesday night civilization class, which I'm proud to say has taken place every Wednesday at 8:00 p.m. for the past 4 years. The two gods, True Master and Sincere Yu'Allah, were the only representatives from Richmond to attend the first Regional 4 conference. They returned to Richmond with the 6 strategic tools of growth and development and shared them with the gods at the Wednesday night civilization class. Prior to that, I had never heard of the term public relations. They explained to us that in order to maintain the law school that we were striving to build in Richmond, we would first have to be sufficient and on top of public relations, communications, education, economics, health, and security. Well, I had already chosen myself to call around every Wednesday to see whose home would be the location for the civilization class and notify the gods in that area with the information. My criminal record was clean. Also, it just so happened that at that time I was the youngest in the area and I was 120. Therefore, as a result, I saw that I could uphold the responsibility of public relations in the Richmond area. We all uphold public relations in our area by being living examples of what we teach. For the regional conferences, we are asked to speak on 6 strategic tools of growth and development and how they are applied in our area. In Richmond, a committee has been formed to cover each strategic tool. Whereas there are 6 tools, we have combined public relations and communications, also education and health. Therefore, we have 4 committees, each containing a number of responsibilities and a small number of volunteers to carry out the responsibilities of that committee. At 4:00 p.m. on every second Sunday of the month, each committee is required to come together to form the Allah's Universal Youth Center Executive Board, which is the board that makes the final decisions for Allah's Universal Youth Center in Richmond Victory Allah. We are still striving to obtain the building to run our programs such as Keep Right Juvenile Transition and Operation SPBF, which is Single Parent's Best Friend. Furthermore, we still have our teaching plan in effect, which is that each God on earth is required to teach at least 1 high school student, and that high school student is to teach at least 1 middle school student. And we are all to come together to assist the elementary school students. In addition to that, our economics committee now consists of the finance department and the fundraising department. The fundraising department has secured a second account and has formed the donation system, where each God on earth, if capable, donates $20 a month. As far as security, our nation in Richmond is kept safe with the help of GOD and the military training. GOD secures our parliaments and nation events and provides a sense of security for the well-being of the nation, of our nation in Richmond. Before I leave, I'd like to congratulate Eternal Ruler Allah and the Lunar Queen Earth. As of Tuesday, September 12th, they become proud parents of a young God by the name of Rahim Eternal Allah. Again, my name is Shafi Allah, and as always, a pleasure is mine. I'd like to thank you for your attention. Peace.
Very well given.
Next up, we have the Queen, Tia Refined Earth. She will be speaking on health.
Peace.
My name is Tia Refined Earth, and I am a part of the National Health Committee as well. I'm a registered nurse, and I currently work at Infancy Hospital in Richmond, Victoria Law. There, I work on the cardiac surgery ICU unit, which is intensive care unit. Today, I'm going to be speaking on the growth and development of our babies, because as we all know, the Father taught that the babies are the greatest, and our duty as parents and mothers and fathers in this nation is to provide an environment that is conducive to the growth and development and learning of our children. The wealth of our nation is the children, and we need to provide the right foods mentally and physically to aid in their growth and development. Children are like flowers that must be nourished in order for them to grow. I just want to recap on what the God was putting on as far as feeding your children the right food. Moderation is the key, and also knowledge as well, because you have to know what to feed your children mentally as well as physically. We have numerous guys on earth who do not eat meat in the nation. However, if that's what you choose to do, and that is great, you have to make sure that you properly feed your children and make sure that they get all of the nutrients that they need. I'm going to build on a few common deficiencies that we have found to be prevalent in the nation. One is the lack of vitamin C, which is called scurvy. And it's one of the most serious diseases affecting teenagers today. It is caused by a dietary lack of vitamin C or ascorbic acid, which is found in many fresh fruits and vegetables, particularly in citrus fruits. Ascorbic acid is an important formation of collagen, which is needed for the body to survive. Scurvy is characterized by swollen and bleeding gums, loosened teeth, soreness, stiffness of joints, and lower extremities, bleeding under the skin and deep tissue, which in return causes slow wound healing, something that's also commonly found in diabetics. Another deficiency is called rickets. Rickets is a deficiency of vitamin D. Many of us do not choose to drink cow's milk, and if you don't, there's other supplements that you can provide for your children if you do not wish to do that. However, rickets is very serious because it causes a softening of the bone, which can cause breaks in the bone. And you know, with children being so young and vulnerable, it's a rapid period of growth, and if they have a break in the wrong spot, it can prevent them from growing for the rest of their lives. So, you know, we're responsible for them, so we need to make sure that we ensure that they receive the adequate amount of nourishment that they need. Another deficiency is vitamin A. Vitamin A deficiency can cause blindness, and this is something that's really prevalent in Africa because they don't receive a lot of green leafy vegetables, which you can find also in milk, liver, eggs, red and orange fruits, palm oil, and green leafy vegetables as well. But those are some of the deficiencies that we have found to be prevalent within the nation by not adequately supplementing things that you are taking away from the child's diet. So just keep that in mind when you're feeding your children, and they should be okay. One of the things that we're going to go through is just the growth and development of children in general and what to expect. Each child grows differently, and at different points in their life, they'll go through different phases. No one child is the same, so you can't base what one child is doing on another. So you can look to each other to to find what should be congruent within a certain time frame in order to know if your child may or may not have a deficiency in their development. Infancy is the period from birth to 1 year old. Infancy is the period where rapid motor and cognitive and social development occurs. Infants have no concept of what is right or wrong, no belief, and no convictions to guide their behavior. On the overhead, we have, it's broken up into 3 groups. First is age, fine motor, and gross motor skills. The infant at 1 year old, they should not be able to hold their head erect. So, when you're holding the baby, you have to make sure that you're holding the baby properly to make sure that you do not injure the infant. And you should be able to see some of the things that will be going on from the first, second, and third month of life. Another point is that the birth weight doubles from 4 to 6 months and then triples within 1 year. Primitive reflexes are replaced by purposeful and voluntary movement. So there's going to be certain things that your baby are going to do when they're first born, just as a reflex, that as they grow older, you should expect those things to go away. And if they don't, it could be an indicator to you that something is wrong with your child, and you need to seek medical attention to further find out what is wrong, what are they lacking, or why they are not growing as they should. Also, one of the most common fears of children from 6 to 8 months is stranger anxiety. Then going on to from toddler, which is 1 to 4 years, the growth rate and physical changes occur at a slower pace. The key milestones include locomotion, toileting training, and verbal communication. This can be frustrating for the parent as well as the child, but we know that we have to verbally communicate with them in order to teach them how to be verbal with us. So if you speak Bible to your child, they're not going to speak words that, they're not going to say yes, no, mommy, daddy. So you have to reinforce that. You get that what you put into your child. So you have to invest in that child and give them your time, as well as by reading to them and spending time with them to make sure that they develop, because they learn through example. By the age 2, your toddler should have a vocabulary of 300 words. And by the age 3, they should be somewhere around 900 words. And at 3 years old, your child should be able to speak in short sentences using 2 to 4 words. And some of the main fears with children as a toddler are being afraid of the dark, which we all know, and being afraid of being left alone. Also, one of the things that you need to also be mindful of is that children, when they come to the toddler stage, they're more locomotive, they're moving around. So you have to be careful as far as your medications. You want to make sure you have safety caps and put things out of their reach. So you might want to put caps in your electrical outlets, different things of that nature. Keep cleaning products up high. Also be aware of open windows, because we did have an incident in the nation where there was a baby who had fallen from a window because that child's strength was basically underestimated. So we have to be mindful of all of these things when we're caring for not only our babies, but other people's babies. And it only takes 2 inches of water for a baby to drown. So you can just leave a pail of clean water out and your baby can accidentally drown in that pail of water, even though it's only a small amount. 2 inches really isn't a lot of water. However, it is enough to drown a small child. Also, we want to be mindful, toddlers, they don't like to sit in car seats, but we as parents, we have to reinforce that you have to sit in a car seat when you're driving in a car, regardless of whom or what. They may be fussy, they may be cranky, they may not want to sit there, it may be a long road trip, but it's our duty as parents to reassure that they do what they're supposed to do in order to remain safe. Next, we'll go to preschoolers. Preschoolers are the ages from 4 to 6. Preschoolers are very inquisitive. They want to know who, what, when, where, why. They're always asking questions. Never deprive your child of answering their questions, even if you have to put it in simple terms so that they can understand. They may not be able to understand on an adult level as you would explain to one of your brothers and sisters, but if they have a question, do your best to answer them, and if you can, then seek out someone within the nation or that you know who is more knowledgeable about that situation and, bring it to their level. Even as a nurse, I don't know everything. I have to call my brothers and sisters sometimes and say, well, July asked me this question. How should I answer that? Or how can I teach my child this? What did you do when your child was at this age, and how did you handle this certain situation? That's what we are all here for, to help and assist each other in the growth and development of our children. Also, the school-age child. The school-age child is a period of development when a child is directed away from the family, and they're spending more time with their peers. Peer relationships are more important. So it's very important as adults and as parents and as brothers and sisters in this nation, we provide an environment that's conducive for their learning, and we develop a rapport or relationship with these children, so when they do become school age, they will still feel comfortable and not so reluctant to come to us and ask us about different situations as far as sex or drugs or what have you. It's not necessarily taboo. We have to have an open relationship with our babies so that we can give them the information that they need to know to be productive, and then so they can get the right answers. And also, and that goes even more so into adolescents. Adolescents, they're preoccupied with others and respect of self and the respect from their friends. So, we have to have an open relationship with our children so that when they get to that point in their lives, that they will feel comfortable and able to come to us with any situation that they're dealing with. That way we can ensure that we teach them what we want them to know as a nation, and that they get the information that they need to be productive as adults. That pretty much concludes my presentation. I was very nervous, but I wanted to let you all know the reason why I chose this topic is not only because I'm a nurse, but just being in this nation, you see different things, you hear different things, you come across different situations, and a lot of times the reality is that these things occur because we don't know. So we need to utilize this time here now when we're together as an opportunity to inform one another and to let each other know different things that we sometimes assume or take for granted that everyone knows or everyone should know, because the reality is we don't know and we have to be taught. And so this is the place and the time for us to come together as a group and share these type of vital information with each other so that we can have a productive nation. Peace.
Peace.
Everybody doing okay?
Yes.
Because of time constraints, we're gonna have more speakers to come up, but we're gonna kind of have to streamline it a little bit. Streamline it, that is. So next up, I have from Victory Allah, people Asiatic.
Peace.
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 How's everybody doing?
Great.
I'm going to be building about education. And first I would like to begin with a simple definition of the word legacy. A legacy is anything that is passed down to an ancestor. Okay? Now while I'm going through this bill, what I would like for you to do is the next two questions that I'm going to ask, that you keep them in mind when you're here and both when you leave and go back to your respective states. First thing I want you to ask yourself is, what is the legacy that you are leaving to your children? And furthermore, because of the foundation you give your children, how will your children, as your legacy, impact society as a whole? Proper education of our young gods and young earths is imperative to not only the growth and development of themselves, but also it's imperative to the growth and development of this nation. The objective today is basically to give you some ideas that could possibly be implemented in your respective states, as well as some ideas that we're trying to implement in Victory Law. The first one is children's civilization classes. Basically, what that would simply entail would be setting a curriculum that teaches 120 and various activities that reinforce the class lessons. And there will also be quizzes and tests that will be graded and sent home so that the parents can monitor their children's progress along this journey. Basically, what this does is it provides the children with a comfortable and safe environment that they can learn in, and it provides an environment that's also conducive to mental growth. It also gives the children the opportunity to learn with their peers and not just, sit down with their parents, and sometimes the constraints that come along with that. So they're among children that are their own age and who share some of the common issues that they share as children. The next one was actually a mentorship program, which I personally think is a very, very good idea. And what that entails is both recreational and educational field trips, things along those lines. What it will also be, it will be taking up the children, and you would be dividing children up into age groups. For instance, let's say ages 5 to 13. The mentors for the 5 to 13-year-old children would be 14 to 19-year-old young adults. For the 14 to 19-year-old young adults, the mentors would be 20 to 24-year-old adults. And what they can do is they can partner up and go on these different field trips and different activities. They can have someone that they can build with, and that could just go and spend time with them and develop a certain type of rapport. It would also entail planned fundraisers to raise money for all of the events that you will be going to. I know and understand that some of us don't have the money all the time to give to the things that our kids want to do. So a good idea was to actually, all of the parents who have their children involved in a mentorship program would have to volunteer for fundraising events, both them and their children. This actually benefits you in a couple of different ways. Yes, it can help you as far as the interaction with your children and be a part of something as a family. But for the young adults who are in high school, it also provides community volunteerism hours where they can actually get scholarships for how long did you volunteer in your community. And those are things that we can actually vouch for, things of that nature. Also, it would entail like special functions at the end of the year. So every year, it would acknowledge some of the accomplishments that the children had ascertained along the way and some of the things that they had done. Basically, going over the same thing, what it does is it establishes a brotherly or sisterly camaraderie among the children, and it gives them someone to build with that is more relatable to them. Another idea that we had to come up with was a newsletter that the children could actually write articles and interview different people to provide sources for articles. They will learn how to edit and put together a newsletter. And basically what it does is it gives them the ability to work together for a common cause and to understand friendship and how to work together, because sometimes our children have issues with things like that. But it also gives them a lesson on responsibility. And at the end, it really shows them the fruits of their labor as far as their dedication to get involved in a task and to see that task out and to really see the fruit of that. Another idea was, actually it's a really good one, it was called Adopt a Block, where you have an adult that would go out with these children, they would pick a block. You would go out on this respective block, you would clean up the block, you would build with the people in the community on this block. And what this basically does is just shows the children the importance of health and sanitation, shows them how to take pride in their community, but it also gives them a foundation so that they can go back into these same communities once they get older, and it'll be a little easier just to go out among the people and build. And it really does set a wonderful foundation for that.
They had, but I did get a copy of the tape from